special thing.
So
I've been
recap.
going for 20 minutes, so yeah, you guys are fine.
Sorry.
Yeah, same.
It's okay.
I started earlier.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna go at 5:30, so
Yeah, as soon as I
It's
got on
okay.
my computer, I started early, so I was like, "Oopsie!"
So
I started way too early.
do the D&D recap, blah blah blah,
No.
blah blah blah, blah 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 blah.
Well, wait until my ad's over so we can do that
Is.
on stream.
No recap for you. It's illegal.
Allie,
Hello everybody.
Yeah.
DM.
DM. Okay, one sec.
Do do do. Give us just a moment.
1.
Okay, my scene is swapped. My character sheet is where it needs to be. And the ad is now over.
Yay! Hello everybody. Welcome back to In the Demon's Grasp. This will be our session 7. I hope everybody has had a pleasant time in this little short moment here where we've emerged from the forest and saw quite a bit of decimation. And that's where we left off last time with a big reveal of what used to be, should be, probably is, cache sea that has now been overtaken by these blue
Like crystal thingies.
crystals
It tasted like nothing.
patches. And so that's where we begin. So we're starting at the forest, and I know people are probably going to want to spread out and go their specific ways of places of importance and everything. So I apologize in advance. We will have to bounce back and forth.
Before any of that, though,
Uh-huh.
I would like to know, do these crystal thingies look anything like the crystals that our party members were in?
No.
Okay.
Specifically not those.
Okay.
But they do look like the crystals that were going up into the ceiling and down into the floor in that room.
So not as pure.
Mm.
It's like they're fadey and frosted, right?
Yes. They're not quite as transparent. They look like ice that has cooled down very quickly, been frozen fast, so it has lots of air bubbles in it, is how it looks. So it looks very frosted on the inside.
Okay.
I know everybody's probably seen ice cubes that have been frozen very quickly, and they get that white, powdery look on the inside. That's mostly how all of these look. Some of them are small, barely, as tall as your foot. Some of them go up to your knee. A few of them are even taller than what a house might be, but they're definitely spread out and everything. So does anybody else have any other questions of what's going on or what you see, at least from here?
I have a question. Is
Ask
there
away.
names on all those gravestones?
You will have to go visit the graveyard. Mostly you're still in the forest. The graveyard is kind of between you and the town. And so you can pass through it on the way.
At the end of last session, Midnight darted off towards the graveyard.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Phelan darted towards the direction of her house, but I don't know where her house would be, so I don't know
Phelan's
where to
house
move
would be in the
second.
Cashew proper area, so the main part of town.
Okay.
Where mine would be
Midnight-
too, so.
Midnight and Princess are going to be searching for the names of her family members.
Naya's beelined the orphanage, probably with Good Boy and Germa in tow.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah.
I think
I really need to put them on here.
yeah, you do. I think I would be following Midnight into the graveyard looking not so much for Mama, Papa, Sister, but more so Nana.
Colfax is probably
Can
off
we roll
looking
checks
for
for that?
his relatives.
Naya doesn't have reason to believe that any of her people are dead yet. So she's gonna check the scene first. Try to gauge time.
Do we need to roll anything, Firedale?
Not for now. Give me just a moment. I'm going to get.
Okay.
Yeah, he has to pull Dreama and Good Boy into the map.
Yeah,
So we're all
right.
just putting ourselves where we're going.
Okay.
So, Colfax, are you going anywhere? Or are you hanging back in the forest?
I think he's probably gonna try and look and see if he can spot maybe where his relatives were that he was staying with.
That was probably also in Kashi proper
Yeah,
then.
it would
Yes.
have been on the kind of the outskirts of town because I
Yep.
believe it was a
Mhm.
group of Elven Rangers that you were staying with, and so they would have
Yes.
kind of been
Not
well
not
where the
his
graveyard is
not
now.
yeah, not his parents, but relatives
Yeah,
that he would have known. Okay.
and amongst some of the graves there are what appears to be some shards of wood and everything else. So give me
Mm.
just a moment. Apparently
Yep.
that's
And then
as small as
Kalina would also be in the graveyard from what we were hearing.
Yep.
Okay.
so.
Just move
Kalina,
your token over, Nene.
yeah.
There you go.
So Phelan dashed through the graveyard straight to home. Naya, tugging Good Boy along, headed to the orphanage. Colfax, Kalina, and Midnight darted to the graveyard. Everything is, I want to say ruins, even though it's kind of beautiful, but it's also, ruined. All the structures and everything that are here are, apparently crushed. Some of them already have some crystals growing onto the wood and the structures that are there. The graveyard that's on the edge, it's quite a somber sight here. As far as you can pretty much see, there's rows and rows of wooden and stone tombstones. Each of them, apparently marks a resting place of probably somebody in the town or on the outskirts of the people that used to live up and down the coast. It's kind of hard to tell. The blue crystals have taken over the graveyard, upturned some of the tombstones, even some of the graves. There's a little bit of a gory sight every now and then as you see one of the crystals jutting up and it happens to have a bone here or a skull there just dangling from the top as it grew and didn't care that the grave was there. Some of the tombstones you can definitely see words written on. A lot of them seem to have been worn away as if some time has passed. Of course, even a lot more have been overtaken by the crystals, completely obscuring the majority of the stone that would be there or the marker. And there's some places where the crystals so completely cover that area of this graveyard that it's hard to even tell where one grave might be and where another one might be. It's just really hard to tell.
Hmm.
There are still pathways here. There are some crystals that have been, I don't want to
Flattened.
say worn down, but they seem to be growing more slowly or they're smaller so you can walk
Trampled.
without kind of. They're kind of, what's the word, hair like, as opposed to strong
Like,
crystals. Like the edges of a snowflake
Mhm.
might be where it's so thin that they break really easily, but any of the
Mhm.
larger ones definitely seem quite a bit sturdy. But the smaller ones are, there's trample marks in some of them where you can see that people have obviously been through here. They don't quite leave the same footprint as you would in mud or dirt, but it is there. So it's easy enough to find a path through to the other parts of town. And since we're dealing with the graveyard first, let me go ahead and find out what Kalina, Colfax, and Midnight are doing here.
I'm searching for the names of my family. Princess from above, me from below.
Yeah.
I'm specifically looking for Nana.
I'm looking for just any sort of sign of
Okay.
the things that I might recognize from the past.
Well, if you three would please give me an investigation check.
It was coming.
Um, is mine with advantage since Princess is helping?
It definitely can be. I figured you'd have one for each.
Oh yeah. Okay.
16. Okay.
Colfax,
22.
Good
Nice.
boy. Good boy.
Nat 20.
in your searching up and down these rows and everything, that takes quite a bit. There are a whole lot of graves, and again, not all of them are visible. You do happen to find, instead of a gravestone, there's actually a bow that's shoved into the ground. Its string broken, and the bow looks very much like your family's bow making skills and everything else, but there's only one. Uh, Normally, if people were buried together, family wise and everything, they would be buried, together or close. But that is what you see is one bow stuck in the ground here, but there's no sign of a grave itself.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, everything has been overrun. You don't see any upturned dirt, but you do see the bottom half of a bow, you know,
Yeah.
planted into the ground.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
So Colfax kind of walks over to it. He's got like little tears in his eyes. And he kind of just plops down. And you can. I don't know if anyone else can see him, but his eyes are welling up. He's got like he's trying not to cry, and eventually the poor little guy, his heart just breaks at one point, and he just lets out like the saddest
Scream
little
cry.
high pitched cry
Oh,
that
Colfax.
that you can hear. He's just like
Yeah, pretty much. Poor Colfax. And as midnight is looking along with Princess's help, you look around and spread about, you do manage to find just one grave that has a last name on it that matches, but the first name is so obscured by the crystal growth it's hard to tell. Beyond that one, you don't really notice any others. Kalina, looking up and down, you don't happen to see the name of your grandmother listed here that you can find.
What about Mama, Papa, and sister?
As far as those, none that you can really see that places it. You don't happen to see those names anywhere.
So I don't get answers. Okay.
This is the graveyard. And now let's head over to the orphanage while these all were looking around. Again, it took quite a while to search that entire area. It's not a small graveyard.
Real quick before we do
Uh
that,
huh.
Princess and Midnight are going to go over to Colfax, and Midnight's going to start rubbing his back, kind of consoling him. And then Princess, landing on his other shoulder, is going to say, "Aye, you think I could have that string there? I'd rub his back." Oh, great, thank you. I'm going to snip the string off the bow shaft.
What's left there for it? I can't believe you did that.
I need it.
Okay, so. Sorry, I've got so many windows open at the moment. So Naya leads Good Boy, carrying Dreama towards the old orphanage that's still mostly standing. The crystals haven't quite shoved its foundation to make it fall completely, but you can tell that it's definitely seen better days. From the outside, the door is completely blocked by crystals. There are crystals growing on the roof. I know the picture doesn't show it, but there's crystal clusters growing on the roof, out some of the windows. Uh, you can get inside if you try. Not all the windows are blocked, but you definitely wouldn't be able to go through the front door. There are paths to get around, so you could get in without too much trouble if you so desire. So, what do you want to do?
This might be a little dark, so I apologize. But does it look like any crystals have gone inside the orphanage
Yes.
at all? Okay.
Yes. There are some that are even protruding out from inside, out the windows and the walls.
Is
So it
there
overtook.
anything marring the crystals, like possibly dried blood?
Not that you can see. If you want to give me an investigation, you can check outside, but if you want to check inside, you'll actually have to go inside.
Okay, yeah, I'm mainly looking to make sure that I don't know how suddenly these crystals came on, but given that they look like they were flash frozen,
Hmm.
it's fairly quick. So I'm just trying to piece together what would have caused the deaths. Like, were people impaled by this? Was this after the deaths? Did they, like, I'm just trying to get answers.
I totally understand.
So I would probably be checking the crystals on the way to the orphanage and then try to go in to investigate further. Yes.
Traveling through the graveyard and on the way to the orphanage, because the orphanage is on this side of town, whereas, the proper and the church are on that side further away. That's why I've kind of got them going from the bottom right, bottom left, top right, top left. So you would get to the orphanage before you would get to the town proper, because it was kind of off to the side.
Yeah.
The orphanage was cared for, but people still like to kind of be separate from that because people don't like to feel down. And
Mhm.
so it was a building, because it was a rather large building, so it needed its space and it needed the land to grow, stuff like that. So on the way through the graveyard towards the orphanage, there are occasions where you can see brown patches and unnaturally vibrant moss that's definitely been fed by something on some of the spikes, but for the most part, you don't really see anything out through most of the spikes. In the small patches of ground that you can see on occasion, you definitely see maybe the remnants of dried blood, but it's hard to tell as if it's been there for a very long time.
Okay. Cuz I'm trying to piece together here. Basically, there's a graveyard, so someone was alive to place the graves, but were they residents or were they people who came into town after?
Hmm.
That's kind of where Naya's trying to figure out here. But she would attempt to go inside the orphanage. Do I need to do anything for that?
No, it's a rough to get through. You kind of prickly if you want to try and completely avoid the sharpness of the tips entirely. I would need a dexterity check, but if you're okay getting a little roughed up, that's up to you. But it's also a crystal that you don't know anything about. So you tell me if you want to barge in or be very careful.
I'd probably at least attempt to avoid the pointy bits.
Okay, so please give me a dex check.
Whether or not I succeed's another question. The dice will tell.
Fire
Yeah,
roll
you
again.
do not succeed.
The dice have chosen.
Nope.
Nope.
You attempt to crawl up through a window, and the crystal, with it being as smooth as it is, your grip on one of the pieces that you were hanging on to for leverage kind of slides down the crystal, and you ended up smashing your hand right on the tip of another to try and catch yourself from falling into what's pretty much a spike trap right
So you
beneath you.
impale yourself, basically.
Ow,
Crystal
ow, ow,
impaled
ow,
count
ow,
plus
ow, ow,
one.
ow, ow, ow,
Ow!
ow.
Please take 3 damage as your hand is
Okay.
pincushion by a rather large crystal.
Firedale DMs.
Yeah. Okay. Do, 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 do.
It has been 0 days since the last crystal related accident.
Okay, Meteor. Yeah.
Thank you.
So you slam your hand down onto it, and it definitely pierces like right between the marks of your finger, but doesn't quite protrude from the other side of your hand. But it's definitely
It's
an
in there,
owl.
yeah.
But you manage to recapture your grip. Your hand comes off fine. Other than pain, you don't
Mhm.
really notice, anything special about it other than wow, that hurts.
Yeah,
But
that
you
was
managed to make
surprisingly
it
sharp
inside.
for being as rounded as it was. Yep. As smooth as it was. Surprisingly
Well,
sharp.
the tips of them are sharp. The sides of them, not very much. So you
That's
make it
funny.
inside, and I would like to tell you there's now signs of blood right outside the window.
Well, yes. Yes, I'd imagine it. I'd imagine there's fresh blood outside the window now.
Yeah, so you make it inside, and from within the orphanage, you see these crystal clusters all along the ground, on the walls. The tables that were there for feeding appear to have some of them on top of the table, some beneath it that seem to be growing from the bottom of the table. It's almost as if it's growing out from the structures and the things that are in there. All of the doors that are inside that you can see that are still standing are completely open, as in there's no closed doors.
Interesting.
Getting to the second floor might be a little difficult because of the haphazard, way that everything is, and the fact that the lower half of the stairway is currently not there and seems to be rubble at the bottom. And Phelan said, "I've been impaled." And so, if
Not
you want,
in character. I was just making it funny.
so is it okay if I go ahead and switch over to Phelan for a little bit?
Sure.
Okay.
I would also be making my way over towards the orphanage.
Oh, I was just gonna ask a question in chat.
Yeah, but they're gonna go through all the locations first, and
Yep.
then they'll come back around to us.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just saying.
I was just
In the
typing a
meantime, I'm heading
question.
that way.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we can get when we cycle back around.
Oh yeah.
Again, all the stuff that's going on with Nine Phelan is going on while you're looking at the graveyard.
Yep.
And you're looking at the graveyard while Naya's searching the orphanage.
Right,
Both
and
of
I would
that's
have only
going
had
on.
time to search the one floor in the time
Yeah.
while everything else going
Yep.
on. So
And
we're
Phelan
moving
made
on.
a beeline to town where she's pretty sure her house and her mentor's house is, where her family's house is. And I would like Midnight, Kalina, and Naya to please make an intelligence check for me.
Okay.
Can do.
Oh, that's a much better roll.
I am a dumb bunny.
19.
Oh, Midnight and I are on the same wavelength
Yeah.
right now.
I'm a
All right.
dumb
We both
bunny.
have plus zeros too.
Twinsies.
I'm a dumb bunny. I'm a
That one.
charismatic bunny.
You're
Y-
you're
You're
you're just distracted looking for.
you're
your
distracted
Nana.
trying to figure out where Nana is because you didn't find her grave.
And she's not
Okay.
answering her
Yeah.
phone. Not phone,
And
but you know what
fire.
I mean.
Okay, Fire and Meteor, I have sent you a message.
Ooh,
Okay.
secrets.
Yeah. So, Phelan, you've made a
Oh.
beeline to town where you're pretty sure your house is. Your house is still somewhat standing. One of the walls seems to have completely caved outward instead of inward. The roof is still somewhat standing. There's definitely quite a few more holes in it than there were when you last remember seeing it. And within it, of course, you have your room, your mentor's room, your uncle's room. Nobody seems to be in them. However, you do see the remnants of the beds and things. In your uncle's room, there's a crystal shard that is jutting up through the middle of his bed, and there is a very large, dry brown stain on the top of the bed. The
What
one
about?
for your. Go ahead.
Yeah, continue.
The one for your adoptive father also has a crystal that's jutting down from the ceiling. Happens to hit the bed at just a slight angle, kind of towards the bottom right of it, and there's also a rather large brown stain that's there, but not quite as big as the one for your uncle's. Your room is mostly untouched. There are crystals here and there. It actually looks like there's more rubble off to the side, as if there was probably more here than is here now. You can definitely see parts of broken crystals, you know, dotting the ground and everything else. Your bed is in tatters. Your wardrobe is in tatters. However, on your desk, your writing desk that's there that you used to use to study with and everything else, you do see what appears to be a partially unrolled parchment of something, and it's also covered in crystals and everything else. And give me just a moment. Do,
Okay.
do.
No, Phelan's having
And
fun.
I
Maybe it's
believe
not.
it should now pop up.
Yeah.
The part that's the dashes are places where the crystals have grown through and torn it. The ink's not quite readable. So that's what you see. The parchment is currently attached to the desk, but with enough working, you can lift it up. It'll definitely crack in places. So I'll give you a moment to read that, and then I'm going to go back to our graveyard people if that's okay with you, Phelan. Are you
Yeah.
able to
While
see it?
she, yeah, I was just reading it before you switch over.
Uh huh.
Phelan kind of just like walks solemnly over to where her uncle's bed was, and she just falls to her knees and lets out this like heart-wrenching scream.
And across town, there's another scream to match Colfax's, just echoing through through this icy blue crystal forest, I guess we'll say, or this crystal plain. Okay, so back in the graveyard, Kalina wants to ask Colfax and Midnight, or Princess and Midnight, I think it was, if they would help
I
her give
all
another
three.
cursory look. Yeah.
All three.
And in the meantime, Midnight comes back to Colfax with something in her hand. Naya's
Hmm?
getting very concerned, hearing echoing screams from two ends of the town here.
Yeah,
Do
but
I,
having observed the blood stains on the crystal, I got an idea of what possibly being discovered.
do I have to roll anything for that Firedale, or do I just
No,
All right.
no, it's easy enough to tie stuff together.
Okay. Uh, so Midnight comes up to you, Colfax, with the string that she just took, and Princess says,
Hmm.
"Well, I made this for you, Colfax. It's a necklace made from that bowstring there and the lizard feathers that we got earlier." You're welcome.
I think Colfax needs a hanky.
Midnight has like a single tear running down her cheek.
Poor everybody.
She
Just poor everybody.
gives you a hug.
And
And
I'm
he
just
kind of gives a little hug back and is like, he's getting less sad, but at the same time, just kind of vibing, doing his thing.
And you guys doubted me taking that string.
I had
Told you I
faith.
needed it.
I had
Hey, I
faith.
said nothing.
I had faith. I
Oh.
believed.
All right, so
Okay.
Kalina wants some help.
yeah, I'd just be very panic darting around from gravestone to gravestone because I can't get a hold of Nana. And I'm just like not stopping. I'm
Okay,
like,
Kalina, would you like assistance to get advantage, or do you want to let somebody else who's better at looking around do it with advantage for themselves
probably
as you help them?
somebody else because I am really crapping on my rolls today.
Okay, so pick one of the three people there to roll, and I'll let them roll with advantage.
Who has the better investigation between?
Colfax.
Yeah, can we get
Yeah.
Colfax?
Colfax has a +2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can roll.
Okay. Roll with advantage, please. Investigation.
13's a little bit better than my 4.
13.
Okay. Through another cursory look, looking at every grave that can be read, it takes you quite a bit longer just to make sure that you're trying
We're
to make
mainly
sure you
looking for
covered
Daphne.
every. You don't see it. Colfax isn't able to find the name anywhere in the graveyard that still has a name that can be read. And you're pretty sure that you've checked most of them. There might be one or two that got skipped, but most of them that you're pretty sure you caught. So, in all of that, you don't find the name.
Okay, can I take out the sending stone and try and call Nana again? Or is that a one-time-a-day thing?
It's a one-time-a-day thing.
Okay. I'll just look really defeated and just sad and walk
And
back
for
with
you
them.
all, again, this is happening at the same time. So as you start searching, it's starting to get dark out. The sun is starting to go down.
We should probably go meet with the others.
I think that's the best
Well-
idea.
Yes. Yes, what's up?
I'm
We're
worried,
probably gonna head
guys.
for the orphanage, right?
That's the next place on the way to town.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. So we'll switch over to Naya now. Again, it's still day for you. The other stuff, it's getting dark for them, but we're having to bounce around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, we come back to you after you've searched the bottom floor, the rooms. You didn't notice any bodies, not much blood around that seemed, that would be abnormal for anything. Like on the kitchen counter, there's a
Mhm.
little bitty discoloration, but you remember that one time that the dwarven housekeeper there had cut her finger when she was cooking.
Right.
So nothing. It's just those little memories that get to you that say, this is the place you knew as home. So what would you like to do?
Well, at this point, I'd probably be aware that this is not the place where I was hoping we'd be able to rest. So I'd be kind of searching for what is still intact. And is there a good place for us to rest for the night in the orphanage on top of wanting to investigate the second floor, but maybe waiting for company before doing that?
Given how stable the foundation seems to be, there's no real creaking as the wind is blowing or anything other than, from dangling wood or little pieces
I mean,
that
the
are
fact that it's
definitely
still
obviously
standing
loose.
is honestly impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you would give me one moment, get all the windows.
Stealth check.
I'm assuming survival?
Give me a survival check,
Thought so.
please.
Okay. 24.
Okay. You're
Survival's my
pretty
good
sure-
skill.
You're pretty sure after looking around on the first floor and seeing where rubble is, where rubble isn't, the retaining wall in the middle that separated the rooms still seems pretty sturdy and standing. You're pretty sure that it might be taking a little bit of a chance, but for the most part, it's as safe as something can be in the current circumstance. As far as you're looking around, everything goes down here on the bottom floor.
Okay.
So it's definitely a possible camp location.
Yeah. So otherwise, I'd probably just be scoping out to try to figure out what's the best way to access the second floor without risk up until the others arrive.
Okay. So you're thinking about that. You're thinking about the camp.
Mhm.
Colfax, Kalina, at midnight, as you start to get closer to the orphanage, you see a fresh set of blood just outside one of the windows that seems to be easy access to.
Oh, we got trouble.
Oh no!
Let's go.
Now we'll switch over
Careful!
to Phelan. And it is starting to get dark for you now, Naya, as
I
time
would
is
say that
passing.
I've probably torn a piece of my outfit or whatever cloth is nearby and have bandaged my hand.
Okay. So, Phelan, we're back to you.
Hello.
So, you've read this note, I'm assuming.
Yeah, she's read the note and she probably can she find like a scarf or something?
Go ahead and give me an investigation check. I mean, your wardrobe is still here. It's just the physical
No, like
building.
in her uncle's part, a scarf from her uncle.
Give me an investigation check.
Okay. All right, this ain't gonna be good shit.
Man, it couldn't be worse than my last roll. Exact opposite.
Nat
That's a nat
20 with
20.
with a -1 on the modifier.
Looking through
Nat
the tattered
19.
framework of the house, and where the closets and the clothing would have been kept, you don't really see anything uh, in his room. However, you do have the sudden realization. What about the place where you put the dirty clothes for washing down at the river upwards in town?
Yeah.
And looking in there, you happen to find, in this little bundle of aged clothing, some of it's, quite moth eaten and tattered, but you find the remnants of a scarf that you definitely know was your uncle's.
She's going to wrap the scarf around her neck
Uh huh.
and then she's going to walk out all solemnly with the paper clutched tightly to her. Wait, no, she's gonna actually use some of the remaining clothes that's in the dirty pile.
Uh huh.
She's going to rip one of them and tie the note to her dragon plushie.
Okay. Are you just going to tie it open, or are you going to try and close it?
She
Because it
has
seems
it like
pretty stiff.
she has it like I was could she roll it up or
Like a
You can
little
attempt it. That's why
cylinder.
I'm asking, what do you want to do?
yeah, she's going to attempt to roll it up.
Okay, as you start to roll it up, it seems like it can roll in some places, but where the crystal's growing across it in others, you're pretty sure it will break, so to speak, or rip if you try and force it. So
Yeah,
you
she's
can
not going to
loosely
force it.
roll it, but you can't really tightly roll it.
She's going to loosely roll it just so she can tie it around her dragonling
Uh huh.
plushie just so it can be attached to it and not like hinder it too much.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
it does.
I'm like trying to think of words and then she's just going to start walking back out.
Okay, so as you start to leave, uh, from your position towards the church, as the light's starting to get dim, you can kind of see what appears to be the shifting glow of firelight that's showing up just a little bit between some of the wreckage of the Church of Lathander that's there. And
So there's firelight as in like fireflies as in the bug or like actual fire.
Possibly signs of life.
yeah, there's a flicker of. Have you ever seen like how a candle lits and it flickers and the shadows on the wall do the little
Yeah.
dancing? It's that kind of light.
Okay, I was making sure when you said signs of life, we were like, were we talking about fireflies, like the bugs, or
No,
actual fire?
signs of light, signs
Okay,
of firelight.
she's going to head over there.
Okay, so you're going to head down to the church.
Yeah,
Again, it's starting to get pretty dark now. And to Naya, Midnight, and Colfax, and
Kalina.
Kalina.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Are
I have a
Drema
big
and
thing
Good Boy
running.
Dreamy and
still
good
Dreama is
boy.
outside?
still asleep.
They were outside,
Yep. Good boy is outside
so you would come
sitting.
upon them.
Dreama is still very much conked out. It's been about an hour now that Naya, you've been here and the others have showed up, but Phelan's still missing. She has not yet shown up where you all are. So is there anything y'all want to do?
We run into Naya.
Yes.
I'm inside the building, but yes.
Yeah, you hear movement inside the building.
Oh, Naya, is everything all right?
Yeah, I just got my hand a little bit coming into the building.
Oh, is that all? I thought there was trouble.
No, just poor footing.
Naya, can you please give me an investigation check?
18?
Okay. Now, you specifically, since you were there when it happened, you remember where your hand hit that crystal and everything else. And as you're talking to them, like outside the window, I assume you would be looking out to, and showing them what you
Yeah.
did with your hand. And as you're looking, you see that crystal that your hand was planted on and everything else. The bloody spot that was left by your hand seems further down from the tip than where it was, by maybe, an inch or so. Not much, but
Oh,
enough
that is quick growth.
to make a difference to you.
This place is dangerous if it's growing that quick.
Growing or is it absorbing?
Well, if the blood spatter is further down than it was, then it would be growing out of it. I think
Yeah.
is what the implication was there, rather than the blood traveling downward, but it was the crystal itself is longer than it was.
Yeah, I'll give you that
Okay.
one.
That's not good. That's not good.
No, that's not good at all.
And so,
Naya is going to see that, and she's going to do that thing where the character sees something shocking and the eyes are the size of dinner plates.
Any good digs? Wait, what? What's wrong?
We should move.
What?
That
You see a
crystal
bug?
wasn't. That crystal was not that long when I went in here.
What you mean?
It's bigger than it was.
well, I mean, it's the little blue crystal. What do you expect? I had to. I'm
How
sorry.
does the crystal get bigger?
They're growing?
Wait,
All
I
I
don't
all
understand
was
what
it was
dragon
not
said.
that tall before.
I don't understand what dragon said.
I'll send it to you in DM.
I still wanted to check the second floor, but I didn't see a safe way to get up there.
Maybe
Midnight
we should be
goes
finding
over and licks
Phelan.
the non-bloody one.
Maybe we should be going to find Phelan and getting out of here. If this is growing, we might be impaled. It's getting dark.
I mean, I've already done that to my hand. I kind of don't recommend it. Yeah, it's not great.
All
wouldn't-
as you
yeah.
all are talking, and the sun really starts to set over the horizon, and the sky turns that reddened hue as the sun disappears beneath it and the waves. The crystals around you start to give off an eerie blue glow. They're luminescing. It's enough to see by, but it's definitely giving you a different light than you saw before.
Quick
Like
question.
Drema's eyes.
Yes. Meteor.
Is the crystals, is it just the one that has blood on it that's grown, or have all the others grown as well?
I don't
Have
think
you
she
been
would
looking
notice.
at the crystals?
I would have been. I even went to lick one. So
Yeah, you went to lick one.
Intently looking to see if it grew, though. I think we'd be
Would you
too
like-
distracted.
I mean,
Would
you
I
like
have
to go
noticed
back?
anything about the
I would
crystal
pose the question-
surrounding the one I was impaled on?
yeah, I would pose the question to Naya since she's the one who noticed it in the first place.
Give me an investigation check, please, Naya.
Okay, another one.
Yep.
Can we try to snap the end off of one and see if it grows
Nope.
back?
Oh, wait, not investigation. Give me an intelligence check.
Okay.
Could we try to
I was gonna
snap?
say, you're gonna
Better.
keep making me do investigations. Eventually, they're gonna be garbage.
Firebutt, could we try
Yes,
to
banana.
snap the tip off of one and see if it grows back?
You
Well,
can
hold on, let
attempt
him
it,
resolve the
but
roll
let me
first.
help. You know, you notice the ones around, like the one that you definitely had a grip on, and the spike pit that you nearly fell into, and all of that. As far as you can tell, it's hard to know if some growth has happened, but it's to the point to where you can't tell that any growth has happened. So they've definitely not grown as quickly as the one that you definitely had close contact with.
Does blood activate it?
Interesting.
Possibly.
I
'Cause the
think
rest of them aren't as big.
I think we should find Faye.
I do too. I was kind of hoping to check my room, but I don't know what there is to even find at this point.
I think it would be safer to do that during daylight.
Well, I was also hoping that we could camp out in here, but if Phelan's not here, maybe there's a better camping spot up ahead somewhere. We're gonna have to find Phelan at some point.
And while they've been talking and noticing this wonderful thing, Phelan, you've started to head through the town, heading towards the Church of Lathander. As you start getting closer to the main part of town where more people were out and about, like Naya had tried to look at earlier, you don't have to look as hard. You are noticing on the ground several old brown stains scattered here and there in some of the crystal patches. A few of them not quite where the crystal patches are, but still staining the ground and trails and things like that. The houses have been destroyed down the main street that would normally be here. There's the marketplace where some of the stalls have been upturned. There's even some bones and plates that have been scattered around as if there was food on them at the time that whatever happened happened. And you get to the Church of Lathander. You're on the far side of it. You see the firelight flickering from within through the dilapidated structure that's still somewhat standing, but it's definitely, just like the orphanage and the rest of town has seen better days.
Does she see the source of the fire, or
Would you like to step inside, step around?
Yeah.
How are you going to see? Because it's definitely somewhere away from you, and however you want to try and look around.
she's gonna step inside?
Okay, you step inside. Inside this church, you see upturned pew benches, things like that. Again, this was a small cathedral or a large church, depending on how you want to look at it, dedicated to Lathander. This is where Wigglefern used to do out. Digs out the newly acquired lantern and lights it. Alrighty, Naya.
I had one in the Explorer's pack that we grabbed.
Yep. So you go to explore what you can of the church. You notice as you're going in that between you and where the fire seems to be lit, there's some boards, some wood that has been raised up between the floor and the ceiling, and like a makeshift wall has been built in this location. Just on the other side of it, as you start to get closer, you can see several beds and old, tattered bedrolls and things laying on the ground. Quite a few of them have rather large brown, red stains, spotted all over them, everything like that. And as you start to get closer, around another makeshift wall that you can see, you start to hear the sound of a fire crackling and sparking.
She's gonna call out, And she's just gonna be like, "Is anybody there?"
And with that, we'll switch back over to the people at the orphanage.
Oh,
So it's now been, y'all talked about going down, discover
I
the
assume we were
crystal.
heading, yeah.
Yeah, we're heading towards wherever the heck Phelan may have gone. I'm hoping that we can look over, maybe spot her or a glimpse. I mean, she has pink hair, right? Find the flash of pink.
Well, we probably would have
Well,
seen
she
her
has her
dash
hood.
towards town.
I was about to say she has her hood on pretty much 24/7, but it's not like
Gotcha.
fully. It's not like fully on. It's kind of like on the back of her head. So if you're looking from the back, you won't be able to see. But if you're looking from the front, you'll be able to see.
Well,
her
we
pink
would have
hair.
known roughly where you were headed, yeah?
Coming down from the hill that the orphanage is on, and even that hill, is slightly uphill from the town because the town is down closer to the sea for the
The fishing
and
industry.
yeah, the docks. Sorry, I had that word just completely fly out of my head. So of course it's even lower down and more towards, the main beach and everything. And now that this crystal has started to give off this airy blue light, movement within it, it's not so bright, but you can definitely see movement. And far in the distance, down near the large structure where you're pretty sure the church is, you definitely think you see the silhouette of Phelan. And the thing that catches you along with that is bubbling up over the top of the church there. You see a little bitty wisp of smoke. And just within, kind of occasionally, you catch just the slightest orange yellow glow of a fire dancing off the beams that you can see.
To the church?
Oh, not again. Phelan lit the church on fire.
oh, no.
Oh no.
Not again. Poor Phelan.
I don't think Phelan had time to reach the church
And
yet
then you
to
see
do
Phelan
that.
duck inside just past the outer wall.
Yeah, I don't think she started that fire.
Oh. Okay. I guess that makes sense too.
I would ask Midnight if it would be okay for Princess to do a very quick peek into
Recon?
Naya's bedroom and then head following Phelan after. I want to make sure there was nothing left in my room.
So I think she wants Princess to fly up and go see.
It would be safer
Yeah,
for
no
Princess to
problem.
look.
Can do.
Especially because all the doors are open.
Princess will fly up there.
Are you
Take a
looking for
look.
anything specific?
Looking for anything that might be usable that may have been out in mine or Druma's rooms.
Okay, so Princess flies upstairs. Princess has to duck some of the beams and some of the crystals that appear to be growing from the ceiling and the walls and the floors. There are several rooms up, so you start checking them since that. But I'm assuming that since you were friends with Naya and everything, you would know which room was hers.
If not, I would have given as approximate directions as I could have from memory.
So you have Princess flies in, takes a quick look of Naya's room. It's mostly chaos. Some of it is the crystals. Some of it might have been Naya. It's hard to tell. Her bed has been taken over by the crystals, almost split in two, where one came up the middle and has slowly separated the bed apart. The dresser and everything has been turned over. Some of the drawers are laying open and tattered clothing and everything else. It's hard to tell what might be useful, what might not be useful. So, is there anything specific that you're looking for, Naya, that might be in your room, maybe in one of your drawers?
I still don't know if it was possible that there were survivors when the crystals first started. So I was hoping for, is there any kind of message left behind at all anywhere? Because they sent us out. They knew we were not in the orphanage when whatever happened happened.
You do not see anything in your room. It's been hit pretty hard by
Okay.
crystal and destruction, but Beyond that, you don't see anything of note. Princess doesn't see anything of note, including a note.
Okay. That's all I'd be worried about right now. The rest we can check in the morning.
Okay. So Princess beelines to Naya's room, doesn't notice anything specific, and then comes back and reports that.
Okay,
Well,
let's
well,
go find
Naya,
Phelan.
how can you live in a bedroom that messy? Your bed's like a bed of nails made of crystal.
Well, the crystals weren't there when I left.
Oh,
I think
Guys,
that's new
Hey,
decoration.
Quick question, because I wasn't here last session. Did we have a long rest between the last fight and now?
Short rest.
short.
We had a
No,
short rest?
We
we
have not
don't.
had a long.
Okay.
We
I
are
was
trying to
making
find a space to have a long rest right now.
Yep.
Okay, I was just making sure because I saw that I had some stuff missing, so I was like, I don't want to redo anything.
Guys,
Yeah, we haven't had a long rest yet.
on our way to the church, can we see if we can bypass the shop
Bypass the shop.
Mama and
Because
Papa's shop?
Kalina's parents had a
Okay.
clothing shop.
Yeah, they were
Would that-
tailors
like there's a shop around?
in town.
Would that be safe to search now that it's gotten dark? Or
I
would
just
you
want to
prefer
walk
wait till the
past.
morning?
I just want to walk
Okay,
past
you
and
just want to
see.
walk past it, not in.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't want to check while it's dark.
Okay.
I just want to walk past and see how the structure looks.
Okay, yeah.
I just want to see if it's standing. We can check in the
Oh.
morning.
Okay. The orphanage itself seemed pretty sturdy, all things considered.
If the shop is any out of the way at all, I'll send.
You'll have to
Princess
walk
it.
down the main line, the main street that would go right by the
Yeah, we'll pass
marketplace and
it.
everything,
Okay.
so it would have been there.
Okay, easy enough.
The
'Cause
church is
There's
pretty
a
much the
chance
center
that the
of the
structure
city.
might be okay.
In my brain, shop is main floor. We have an apartment upstairs.
Okay.
Oh, you did.
Had an apartment upstairs.
Alright, so yeah, I think we would all start venturing towards Catchy proper.
Yep. So y'all start to kind of rush down to try and catch up with Phelan. I'd say this is about the time that Phelan comes upon the makeshift wall that's inside. You do happen, as you're traveling down, to see where your shop once stood. It has been completely toppled. No walls are left standing. What used to be the second floor is now rubble on the ground.
So where's the shop?
Well, it would have been here.
That little pile of rubble.
Yeah.
Did they sell rocks and wood?
No, Mama and Papa were tailors.
They should have tailored the house better.
Maybe not the time for that kind of
Sorry.
commentary.
My bad.
Kalina, can you give me a perception check, please?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't mean nothing by it.
Please roll decent this time. Nope.
Nope.
Oh no!
Can I help?
I mean, you all are looking at the store, so it's okay for everybody to roll it. I just wanted Kalina first because Kalina would be the first to notice if something was amiss. Especially after she mentioned what kind of shop it is.
Well, I think
So Kalina mentioned that it was the tailor's shop where, clothing and everything should be.
Midnight
one
making up
thing-
for
Yep.
Princess's rudeness with that roll.
The one thing you don't see in any of that rubble is any clothing.
I mean, there's not even a speck of clothing here. That's just what I meant. You know.
That's probably a good sign then. That means maybe they had time to everything up.
Or
There was nothing left behind.
would it be a
And that would-
history check to see if I am actually remembering where it should be? Like, am I
Your
mistaken?
shop?
Yeah.
You know where you lived.
Okay.
There's no need to roll that. You're almost certain this would definitely be where it is. It's a rather large building. There's definitely enough rubble there for it to have been a large two-story building. There are shambles of what would have been like wooden clothing racks or displays,
Mannequins.
but there's definitely no clothing. You see no remnant or trace of any leather or cloth or anything like that. So either this isn't the building that you think it is, or the clothing has been removed either before the badness happened or after the badness happened. It's just you definitely know or from what you can see, there doesn't appear to be any clothing that you can see in the remnants.
Given the fact that our apartment would have been on top, is there any of our personal belongings that could be popping out, like Mama's wardrobe, sister's crib, something?
You do see the remnants of a crib that has been crushed beneath one of the larger beams.
Okay.
Don't notice anything major about it. You do see a toy that you used to have, but you gave to your sibling that is there, and it's made out of wood. You know, like one of those little wooden horses with the wheels on it that you could just move around and stuff. So it's definitely seems like it was probably home, but
Weird question.
ask away.
Would it be too heavy for Princess to possibly grab and drag back the little toy horsey?
Well, it's about hand size, so Princess could probably pick it up. You know,
Princess?
it's small. It's not when you ride on. It's when you
I
just
got it.
push around.
I'll point. Can you reach that?
Yeah.
Picks it up, flies it over to you.
This was mine. I left it with Sissy.
And the red from the sky has now disappeared, and all that's left lighting the way is your lantern, your dark vision, and the glow from the crystals, which still leaves plenty to see.
I don't
So
have dark
this is
vision.
about the time that we would get back to Phelan calling out. Is anyone there? Phelan,
What up?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep, I totally feel you there now. So Phelan, you call out. You hear a thud, and then what sounds like something ba-thump, ba-thump along the wood of the floor, and peeking around the corner of this next makeshift wall is the head of a dwarf. Way down at the ground, which is a little bit odd, and he reaches out his arm and looks at you and says, "Who you be?"
Uh-oh.
Spotted you.
My name is Phelan Samvrita. I used to live here.
Phelan?
Um,
In the
He says in
church?
a rather high pitched question mark voice.
yeah,
Phelan? Is that you?
yeah, it's
You kind of
me.
start to recognize this man as an older version of the village blacksmith. That uh, his beard is quite a bit longer. His hair is quite disheveled. He looks quite a bit worse for wear. And then, as you're there talking to him and responding, he pulls with his hand on the ground and pulls himself around the corner. And as far as you can tell, that arm's the only thing he has left.
Why? Why did you stay behind? Was nobody able to help you go east?
He, wait, so he only has an arm?
Yeah, well, his arm, his torso, he's missing an arm and two legs.
Interesting.
Help me? No, this is my home. I would never leave, even after this crystal rain that took over everything.
Oh,
This is my
you.
home, and I couldn't leave it. I had to stay here. I've protected this place as long as I can. Where have you been? I've not seen you in 10 years. What happened? So many people were looking for you and your friends.
There's a confirmation.
Well,
Why
first,
come back
do you
now?
know?
I'm surprised you're not
Do you
reacting to
know
10
where?
years.
Do you know where? My dad went. He left a letter, but I couldn't really make a whole lot out of it. Just east in some sort of island.
Quite a few of the townspeople left for places further inland. The crystal keeps growing. I keep trying to break it down. I'm staying here mainly just in case anybody comes back. I've not seen anybody in like 2 or 3 years other than looters trying to come through, but even they don't seem to be finding anything. And I just can't move on from this place. This is where I lived. This is
Do
where
you
my what? And he starts to kind of tear up for a moment and coughs and clutches his chest with his hand, and he says, "This is where we lived, and this will be the place that I die."
She pats his back, and she looks again at her plushie, and she looks again back at him. Do you know of any islands east of here?
This island is the only island. I mean, there's the mainland that's way east of here, but no, this is the island. I don't know much outside of that. I was born here. I don't. I've never really left. And he kind of starts to tear up again, and he says, "Oh, where are my manners? I'm so sorry. Give me just a moment. I need to make myself decent." And he crawls off back around the corner. And this is about the time that everybody else would get to the wall outside the church. You can see the firelight inside flickering. You hear Phelan's voice and the rather gruff voice of a man echoing a little bit through the rafters and the
Well,
down bit.
he said it's been 10 years, but for me, it feels like it's only been a few hours.
Do we hear that?
Yeah, I'd say y'all are close enough to definitely hear at least her side of the conversation because she's on this side of this little makeshift camp that's been placed here.
Oi, did she say 10 years?
I think
I
she
knew,
did.
I knew that some time had to have passed because we all look quite different. 10 years?
From around the corner, you hear the sound of, I know it's going to sound a little cliche, but metal scraping on metal and some sounds of zaps and everything else like that.
And he's a blacksmith. Who better to make himself prosthetics?
Yep.
And back around the corner, Phelan, and then as everybody else would have been walking up, this would be your first view of this. A rather tall dwarf in full plate mail armor walks around the corner, and his helmet folds back on itself, back behind his head. And then he looks extremely startled as other people have shown up. Colfax? Colfax, my boy. Kalina?
I'm just going to look very confused at him, staring blankly.
Do we
And
recognize
he
guy?
starts to get a tear in his eye and even just runs over and starts to hug each of you. And he has 2 legs, 2 arms. He's wearing full plate mail. And he just gives everybody such a big hug. And he starts going on, "Where were you all? It's been so long. We looked for you everywhere. We searched the forest, we searched the outskirts, we searched everywhere until we couldn't search anymore. Colfax, I'm sorry." The, his
We were
brother,
inside a tree.
he stops pausing, or he pauses for a minute as inside a tree pops up, and is Princess a crow or is Princess an imp?
Princess
Raven.
is a raven.
Okay, the raven.
Yes.
He tilts his head kind of weirdly because that caught him off guard that this
Bird
raven
talking.
is, yeah, talking
Yeah,
and
the-
says,
the-
inside a tree. And,
The
he
raven
tilts his
has like
head.
a red chest too.
So it's not a
Red
normal
eye.
raven.
Definitely a little bit odd.
Very
And,
odd.
yeah, and but he definitely, he gave Midnight, or he ran up to give Midnight a hug. So how does Midnight and Princess respond to that? Because he recognizes Midnight in a way.
Princess kind of flies up for a second to allow the hug, and then once the hug's over, lands back on Midnight's shoulder.
Okay, and who might your friend be?
Oh, my name is Princess. Lovely to meet you.
He
I'm
lifts up.
Midnight's voice.
What a
Yeah, Midnight can't seem to
lovely
talk anymore.
voice you have.
Me
Again,
too.
he's still got that little question mark there in his voice with that.
Midnight's just like nodding.
Yeah, when we
And-
woke up,
and Maya turns-
Midnight couldn't talk anymore.
And then he would
Midnight kinda shrugs.
turn his head and look at Phelan and say, Phelan, I'm sorry, your uncle Wiggler didn't. Then he adjusts himself and his
I know.
voice, and he says, Wiggle Fern couldn't do anything. I mean, and he looks down at his fully armored arm and takes a moment to take in his legs, and he says, nothing seemed to work well that day, and it's not gotten better.
Are we starting to recognize him yet?
You definitely recognize at least his face. You don't recognize him having been fully armored like this. He actually seems like he's a little bit taller than you remember, which is odd for a dwarf that was already fully grown. He is the village blacksmith, and you definitely recognize him. He seems a little bit older.
Okay,
I know.
I have
Azanak didn't make it. Erzahan left behind a letter for me.
He said he was going to.
I have 2 questions.
And he tilts his head and leans down to you and says, Yes, Kalina?
I recognize you, but I don't remember your name for one. And what the heck happened? And then I have so many more questions. Like, what? But it all ties into what happened. There's so much to talk about.
You don't remember Uncle Alfred? He used to show up in my shop when your parents were busy.
Alfred?
Yeah. Alfred. Alfred Hammerthorn. And he reintroduces himself. Though I probably look a little bit different than I used to. Again, there's some things that have transpired. And he says, as far as what happened, that's quite a bit of a story if you have a moment.
Is
He
it
says, I don't
safe to stay here?
I've been here for the better part of like 6 years at this point. I tried to go inward to see everything, but I just couldn't stay away, so I came back, and this is where I'm going to stay. As I was telling Phelan here, this is where we lived, and I've got to do right by my wife and at least keep her safe.
Phelan's going to look over to Naya. Naya, do you have anything that can repair stuff?
Yes.
She has mending.
Naya's been kind of half listening to the conversation, but has been getting steadily closer to Colfax. Because she heard what he was saying before Princess interrupted.
Yeah, about your brother.
Phelan's going to undo her tying on her plushie and hand a note over to Naya. Could you perhaps fix this?
Okay. One moment, and let me make that visible to Naya now that she's able to get it. So, Phelan hands Naya a very loosely rolled parchment with some letters written on it.
I can understand some of it, but
Naya is going to very, very carefully put the pieces together and begin to focus on mending.
Okay, you cast mending on it as the paper is there and the crystals are on it. And Alfred, as he sees you start to do that, you start to cast your spell and invoke the energy and set it into the paper. And he holds up his hand and says, "No." And
I'll stop.
about the time he says no, and you've already started pouring your energy into it, the crystals start to grow around the paper,
So it feeds off our energy.
obscuring just a slight bit more, but
Feeds
you
off
do
magic.
manage to stop concentrating rather quickly, and so it doesn't obscure any more of the wording that's on the paper. And he says, "Thank you. I'm glad you stopped. Nothing like that seems to work, and it just makes it worse. I
So it
had to lose my
feeds off
arm.
of it.
I had to lose my arm because old man Wiggle, he seems to call him every name under the sun except his actual name, tried to heal my arm, and it tried to take it over, so it had to go. We could
Min-
barely stop the bleeding. So many people, he tried to heal so many people, and he starts kind of uttering that under his breath, and you see his eyes kind of darken as if he's starting to get in a really, as if a memory is coming out through his mind, and he's just shaking his head, and he seems like he's about to have a breakdown, and he just sits down for a moment, takes a deep breath, and looks up and just says, "So many people came for help, and it cost them because we didn't know. We
Midnight
just
looks slightly
didn't know."
concerned.
So I'm noticing something here, and I don't know if it's just omission, mistake, or if it's supposed to be significant. He has not said Naya's name once.
Yeah, everybody else got in the way.
Well, I'm wondering if he
Yeah, that was a
didn't.
mission by me saying everything, and then other
Well,
people
because
caught it.
Naya's hair color is also different right now, so I didn't know if that was a factor. 'Cause she's in winter form.
She's in winter. She's been in winter before.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to speak up, you can. No, he's definitely not said your name. You know, he came up to hug you, but he didn't say your name.
Okay. Then I would
He
start
was kind
digging
of talking
around,
to other people.
and I would pull out the farrier's tools,
Uh-huh.
and I would start trying to use the knife and the clinchers to maybe try to remove some of the crystal from the paper gently if I can.
You can certainly try and do so.
I figure the farrier's tools will have better odds than the knife from my mess kit. Probably a little stronger.
Princess is
ignore
gonna...
what I said then in the chat.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if you were done with it or not. I was like, if you're done with it, Phelan was just gonna be like, take me back.
Well, I was gonna gently try to chip some of the crystal off.
Okay.
So, question.
Princess
Yeah.
is gonna fly over to the dwarf, land on his shoulder, and say,
So, theoretically, if someone were to say have eaten a tiny bit, what would happen to them?
If someone were to have eaten what?
Some of the
The
crystal.
crystal.
I'm not sure. I've never tried. I don't know that anybody tried. We've kind of been too afraid of it.
Also,
Once it
I'm
started
concerned now because
after it,
Naya impaled her hand on it. Is it healing?
I mean, I bandaged it. We'd know if it was still actively bleeding, I'm sure, because of the cloth.
Well, there's a little trickle, but it's definitely seems like it's clotting is normal.
Okay. So can I ask a
Once it,
question then to Mr. Dwarf?
you can.
Because I want to sit down beside him and ask. So, do you know what happened to our families?
He kind of takes a deep breath and a slow and lets it out nice and slow. I just know that your mother and father were one of the first that came to get healed, and were one of the first that got us to discover what was actually going on. We
So they did.
never saw your sister.
Any idea about Nana?
I'm not sure she came to try and look for you all when you went missing all those years ago. We scoured everywhere, in so many places as the crystal rain and right after, and and we eventually gave up. But as far as I know, she wasn't here when this happened.
Because I'm not getting her on my sending stones. She's not answering, and I'm worried.
I'm afraid I don't have any information on her.
You.
I wouldn't know you. She doesn't live here in town. I remember
Mm,
you coming to town with her and everything, but I know she lived. She lived outside. She lived northeast, I believe. But
yeah.
that's all I really know. I just saw y'all walking around together. You've come to visit and stock up, but no, I don't know anything of her.
You were mentioning Colfax's brother.
Yeah. Colfax's family that he was staying with, uh,
Huh?
his uncle there, one didn't make it, and I
Hmm.
believe he was buried with his bow out, and the other left town and went eastward to Novell shortly after the crystal rain started and stopped. We got word from Novell that help was needed, and all the able people started heading that way, and everybody took whatever they could. It happened so fast. The ground shook. It opened up almost like a giant had ripped it apart, and these little blue balls just sputtered out like uh, the sparks from a flame, and landed on the ground, and they just started growing like instantly. And so many people, it was night, there were just so many people caught unaware. The town square, the market, the people who were out drink, and he kind of coughs and gets a frog in his throat, and he's definitely been affected by remembering this. You can tell that he's remembering a really rough time. He's even got a little tear down on his face, and he reaches up with a gauntleted hand and wipes the tear away. And there's just so much that went on. The
Colfax.
orphanage.
As this is happening, Colfax kind of walks over to him and like he's by his leg and he just hugs him.
He reaches down and pets your head and gives you the tall person version of a half hug to a very short person. He just kind of hugs you to his
Yes.
leg.
Hmm.
Farabek, can you clarify my question?
Yeah, he said they didn't make it.
Okay.
They were the first to come in to be healed, and so they received the full treatment. And by the time everybody realized what was going on and making the crystals grow, they it was too late.
Phelan holds her plushie closer to her chest, and she's like, "No, Vale, that's what he wrote." Mm, That's
think
where.
I made a necklace out of that bow.
That's
We
where
never
I
saw your
plan on-
sister.
It's okay.
I wonder if she's with Nana.
Do you know anything about my brother?
I'm afraid I don't. So many people came in to be healing. It was so hectic. There were so many people that we ended up burying. And even then, I don't know if you've seen the graveyard now when you came into town. That graveyard used to be open plain. And the crystal rain hasn't happened. You know, it happened and then was over, but it just keeps spreading. And while he's been talking, Naya's been chipping away at the crystal. You've managed to break off bits and pieces here and there. Given enough time, especially with the tools that you don't fully know how to use quite well, you can kind of break it off. You can't fully clear it without destroying more of it because some of the crystal has spread like into the fibers of the parchment and stuff like that. So you can definitely make more visible. But
Okay, but it can be broken by the tools eventually.
yes,
Okay.
you have to take out little slivers here and there, mostly with the tongs and squeezing it to crack the crystal. And then, of course, the shards will come off. So it can definitely be destroyed.
Phelan just like crosses her arms, thinking, "No, Vale. That's what Erzahan was saying that he wants."
So
I'll hand the note back when it looks like I can't make any more progress without damaging it.
She's gonna retie it to the into her plushie.
okay.
Princess is gonna hop onto Naya's shoulder and is going to whisper to Naya.
Oi, Naya. Have you noticed that Valen is looking a bit older than before? Kind of weird.
I did notice her aging happened after we came out of the crystal up to now, instead of during like the rest of us. I have noticed.
Oh, good. So not just hallucinating. That's good to know.
I'm guessing we're not hearing this.
Says the talking raven.
No, I'm murmuring very, very
Yeah,
quietly
we're whispering
under my
this.
breath.
So I guess we should start telling Alfred about where we were then, I guess.
And midnight, Kalina and Colfax, you happen to see this note getting passed back and forth between Naya and Phelan.
Would I have attempted to would I have recognized what was written on the note, like the language?
Yes, it appears, I believe you have Draconian. Let me double check.
I do not have Draconic.
Naya, you do not.
Would
So,
I do.
so you wouldn't have recognized what
No,
was
I
on
don't.
the note.
would
No.
I
Okay.
would I be able to see the note as well?
I mean, you see them passing it around, definitely.
I mean,
No,
I
they're
was
not trying
standing
to
next
hide
to
it.
you before I
Okay.
was given the note.
Yeah.
So I can peek over and take a look at it and read it.
Yeah, you can peek over. Or peek under.
I'll peek under.
So there you go. Yeah, you would have had a look at it. Yeah, because I'm assuming they weren't trying to hide that she was working on it, especially when she pulled out these big
Yeah,
metal tools and
I
started.
wasn't trying to hide anything.
And I can see the words on it and stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh, actually, with what you would have had to do, like you would have had to lay it down to be able to get leverage on some of them. I'm going to assume that everybody would have had
A chance
ample
to glance
time
at it, yeah.
to look at it.
And by look at it and by look at the note and
Alright.
read it, I mean like I can actually read the words that are on there
Yeah, I don't
Cool
understand any of that, but
facts.
okay.
because
Yeah,
I speak
Draconic.
Draconic.
I wish
Yep.
Naya understood some of it because, God, I have questions.
Yep. Phelan, Colfax.
Of course,
That's it.
I'm a kobold. Why wouldn't I take Draconic?
Yep. Phelan and Colfax are the only ones that
Wait,
can
you're a
actually read it.
kobold?
No.
No,
He's
I'm an
an
elf.
elf.
I'm an elf.
That was out of character. That was out of
I-
character.
Out of
I
character.
must have
Call
heard.
We know.
Max.
We know
Yeah,
nothing.
you heard wrong. You heard wrong. I didn't. No, he's
Yeah, because just out of character,
Elvis.
I'm looking at this note and I'm looking at the second paragraph,
for some
the second
reason
sentence.
Colfax is able to understand it, despite the fact that his native languages are Common and Elvish. Like, he's somehow understands it
Yeah, you can
intuitively.
definitely read the
Makes sense.
note. Everybody else is take a look at it and have this clueless look on their face. So you can actually read it. Everybody else knows what it is out of character,
Right.
but only Phelan and Colfax know what it is in character.
No, I think it's a shopping list. I think that one there says milk.
No,
I don't think that's right.
no.
It's not a shopping list.
Now see right there, I think that says sausage.
No, it's the message my father left before he evacuated.
No, that can't be right.
No, not shopping list. No, definitely not. No milk on there. No.
No milk.
No.
So does that mean there's sausage on there?
He just kind of looks like Kalina, like,
If you'll ever actually tell me what the note says, that is Naya's.
no sausage.
Okay. Okay, Colfax.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I forgot to mention that it was in Draconic whenever you
Yeah,
got
that's
it
why I
down.
was asking because I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to be reacting to this.
Don't mean to me. Don't mean. Just no, not food.
Definitely not food, says Colfax.
Maybe I'm just hungry.
Wait, how are you making out some of that?
I am the worst person to hand a note with letters strategically missing because I will bruise it.
No, I mean brute forcing is perfully fine.
I can't make out any of that.
I do.
Scroll
Figured
down,
out
Banana.
I do ciphers for fun.
Scroll down.
Maitland's figured out majority of
No,
it.
I literally
she just
can't.
couldn't-
That's why I said scroll down.
Yeah, there's a caption below as well, but
That's
I don't
just a
have
picture.
problems
That
with
picture doesn't match the words. That's
that.
just
No,
a
it
picture.
doesn't.
What?
The words
Phelan's
don't match
figured
up
out
at all.
majority of it, but she's not paying attention to that line. She's
Scroll
paying
down
attention
on
to
the
the line that
picture.
says where she is.
Yeah,
There's
there should
words
be a
below.
where
scroll
he
bar
is.
for the note, Banana.
There,
Crystal cover.
oh,
There it is.
okay.
Yeah, the words don't match up because I can make out the words on the picture and they are not even close.
That's why I'm like, how the heck are you making this out? I'm like looking at the picture because I didn't see the scroll bar, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, Phelan's got a one-tracked mind right now. So under normal circumstances, that line would have caught her attention. The
Yeah, it's
changed and
spider
forced us
script.
out. But she's more paying attention to where he said he was going. So she's just like,
Yeah, you
I
were
don't know about the
focused
rest
on
of
where
this.
he went.
Yeah, she's like, I want to find him.
I'm more fixated on the forest chased them out.
I'm guessing
What?
because of
She's
the
more-
crystal growth.
Yeah, because I'm like, did the crystal stuff originate from the forest? Is my
I mean, does anybody want to
thought.
translate what it actually says for the people who don't know Draconic?
Nope.
I'm actually working on it, so give me a moment.
So while Colfax is
Yeah.
looking and trying to decipher it, can I look at the others and be like, I wonder if we caused this?
Now, Mr. Thorny. Hammer Thorn. Speaking of shopping lists, would you happen to have any milk or sausage?
Oh my
for your
god.
lady?
Princess, is that really the time
Bacon.
for this?
I'm
Man,
hungry.
Out of character. Everybody's like, what the fuck is this jibber jabber? Meanwhile, Princess is over here like, can someone fucking feed me for crying out loud?
In case y'all haven't noticed, Princess doesn't think before he speaks. He just says what pops into his head.
He says, Oh, where are my manners? I'm so sorry. I was just so surprised to see other people. I've not had any company in a while. I'm sorry I don't have the dinner plates set out. I wasn't expecting company. And he goes over to the fire where he appears to have a piece of meat that is on the rotisserie. It's hard to tell what kind of meat it is. It looks very chickeny, but it has some rather colorful feathers hanging off of it and a rather long neck, and it looks very reminiscent of something that you've encountered recently, but just more delicious.
Is that a feathered lizard?
Yeah, they came out of the ground before the water filled it in,
I
and
think we killed a couple of those.
Yep, when we came out of the tree.
they taste
I
just like chicken, and he pulls off a little bit of what would be the breast meat and offers it to Princess.
I think Naya tried to get some of that meat, but she wasn't very good at it.
I thought it was Midnight that was cutting it up and failed.
It was.
It was not me.
Yep,
Oh,
it
I
was
wasn't.
midnight.
It was Midnight.
I was only trying to get the feathers. I wasn't trying to cut up the meat.
Well, you tried to dress them first, failed miserably, and then went after the feathers. If I
Gotcha.
remember how that point in time went.
I think what it was is you mistook it for me trying to get the meat.
That
I
I
was
may
never
have.
after the meat.
Yep,
Yeah,
that
I
I may have.
definitely did not.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I did not attempt to
So
put.
yeah, you're right though. That was me that you said that to.
Yep. Sorry about that. I misunderstood way back then.
I tried to get some meat for myself earlier, but I failed miserably. I got some pretty feathers, though.
And I point over to
Yeah,
Colfax's
I mean,
necklace.
and he pats the ground, and some of the bed rolls that are pulled around, he goes to start pulling some of them in, and he tries to leave the ones that aren't quite as bloodied still out in the other room.
I'll dig out one of the bedrolls from the pack that we got from the merchant, which is probably also kind of threadbare, kind of old. Yeah.
Would we still have our bedrolls for like starting gear?
Like that explorer's kit new.
It was.
Yeah, we should all have bedrolls from that.
Yeah. They just
Oh.
might be a little bit deteriorated from time potentially.
Yep. Along with
Much
the
like
other
our
stuff
clothing
that was
was.
found, your starting equipment was also found.
Mhm.
The list was in addition to everything. So if your starting equipment came with a bedroll, you've got a bedroll.
Okay, so
Right. I did not. So I needed the kit for that.
okay,
And so
so
instead, he pulls out a pot and fills it with water from a water skin, and instead starts a stew up because it feeds more people.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thorny.
Yeah, I'll start digging out what I can out of
Kinda
our
chuckles at the
newly
name.
acquired explorer's pack from the mess kit. And the bedroll to try to help supplement what we're doing.
Well, I'm glad to see you're still being the big sister, Naya. You always took so much care of everybody else.
I'm getting
It's just so nice to see you all.
I,
And he gets kind of teared up again.
Midnight hugs him.
I think Kalina's getting a little bit frustrated that nobody's actually answering her question though from earlier.
What was
What
Kalina's
question?
question? I'm sorry, that may have been missed. What was it?
I was looking at everybody and asking, "Do you think we caused this?"
Oh, that.
Oh, that
Yeah,
one.
that wasn't for me to answer.
Yeah, that wasn't for you. That was to everybody else because that crystal and giant blue flash, and by the sounds of it, rain, crystal rain coming down from the sky. Like, did we cause
I don't
this?
think.
I think
Well,
we're all wondering that. But
I
no
don't
one
think
knows.
that we directly caused it, but the one who did go for the crystal is not awake. So I'm not
I
going
mean,
to.
The way how
we
I
did
see
push a
it is
lot of
that
buttons down there, so
the way how I see it is that if if we did start it, we if we didn't do it, somebody else just was going to. We just unfortunately split
Yeah,
up
they
the
were
process.
trying to get into that room anyway. Someone else would have done it.
If we weren't
If we hadn't done it,
down
we
there,
might
we'd
be
probably
dead
be
now.
dead.
Naya,
They probably say that at the same damn time too, so that's kind of creepy.
Naya and Kalina, you hear from behind through the path y'all came through this building, the pitter patter of 6 feet.
6 feet.
And yep, of 6 feet. And around that moment, you hear that, and then from around the corner behind, because I assume you would have turned around to look.
Is Drema and Good Boy back? Slash
Okay.
Drema awake?
I look through part of what the cipher was, and I posted it in our chat and the Discord chat as well, so we have a permanent copy of it. I wasn't able to get all of it, but
That's
you
fine.
should be able to figure.
Yeah,
piece
I know
things
we
together.
got the gist
Okay. Yeah.
from the note. It's all good.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I figured it out if I
So
could.
Colfax
yeah.
kind of knows this. Did Colfax want to share with everybody, or just leave the knowledge since Phelan kind of didn't want to share?
Didn't
I might
want?
didn't or
Does Faye want to share?
Faye was
She
not
said
going
she
to
did
share,
not.
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Then Colfax will
Is she
respect.
going to like?
It's
she
above
going
board
to
knowledge. It's
care?
not player knowledge. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is she
What-
going to care that the others saw it? Not really. Is she going to care that some might read it? Not really, but she's not going to personally herself share.
Okay. Colfax will.
She's kind of
Well,
in that she's kind of
Numb?
in that
He'll
numb one track mind right now.
Mm-hmm.
All that she wants to do is find the person that she seems as her savior.
Yeah, he kind of understands, so he'll just kind of like quietly go over and place a hand on her back and just kind of give him a little pat and a nod and say, I understand. I understand. And he'll just like nod as if he's like, he understands the gravity of the situation. He might not get all of it, but he understands the gravity of the situation, and he'll just kind of like, he's willing to kind of confide and leave it at that.
And she nods back at him.
And Naya and Kalina, while this is going on, you hear the sound of soft feet walking through the building back beyond the makeshift wall towards where y'all came from.
I asked, can we tell if it's Drema and Good Boy, or are they with us?
No, they're definitely not with you where you are now. They were
Right, they
following
wouldn't have-
behind slowly because he was
Yeah.
carrying.
Well,
Drema.
Naya wouldn't have left them at any point, but it is what it is.
Well, if you would have slowed down for it, that's perfectly fine too. They would have been right behind you, but they wouldn't have come into this room yet. Good Boy.
Well,
would have
and we
sat
wouldn't
down
have
outside.
heard 6 feet because Drema was still unconscious at the time.
It would have been 4.
You
That's why I
definitely
asked.
are pretty sure you heard 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear some shuffling around on the other side of the wall. And then
Naya's gonna go
What was
investigate.
that?
And then about that moment, just as Naya starts to turn around the corner, Good Boy walks around, and upon his back there's a hand, and there's a rather sleepy looking Drema in the middle of the largest yawn ever, and her eyes are glowing the same color of blue as the crystal, and that's where we'll stop.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh no.
I had so many questions.
We can
Oh,
continue to
no.
have so many questions next time.
Yeah, write them down so you don't forget.
Well, more, I want to talk with Mr. Dwarf guy that I'm blanking on his name, but it's written down. He must have.
Alfred Hammerthorne.
Yeah,
Alfred Hammerthorne, yes.
he must have so many questions for us. I think we need to
Oh.
get
Oh
into
yeah,
the.
I have questions for him too, but we'll
Yeah,
get
he
there.
has even more now that he sees somebody walk around the corner with eyes glowing that look exactly like the crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
I-
he's probably gonna notice the crystal in her neck before too long.
So yeah, so
Yes.
that's where we're going to call it. So thanks everybody for stopping by, and I hope to see everybody next time. So bye bye
Peace.
for now.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye bye.
See y'all in session
Bye.